Hey everybody, I am Lavallo and I have been to every country in the world. I have my favorites, I have my least favorites, and today I'm going to share with you the three best countries in the Americas. So North America, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the three that are the best. And I should add a disclaimer that this would change if you asked me tomorrow or on the street or whatever. It's just from thinking today, looking at the map, what I remember, my own experience. This is absolutely an opinion of mine, but I wanted to go through and think of what are the best places in the Americas, where do I think represents the region really well, and share that with you guys. The first country that is the best of the Americas is one of my favorites, a place I've been a few times, and that is Trinidad. Now, I don't talk about the Caribbean enough at all, and that's because I did a lot of my travels in the Caribbean while I was younger in university, and I wasn't taking many photos, I wasn't posting videos or anything, so I just don't have that much content from there, but I do love the Caribbean. It's actually one of the places that is the closest to my heart. If it was closer, I would be there all the time. Now, I grew up in boarding school and in university dancing a lot of Caribbean music and having a lot of Caribbean friends from Jamaica, from Barbados, from Bahamas, from Trinidad. And one of my closest friends was from Trinidad. And she and the rest of them taught me a lot about Trinidad, West Indian food, West Indian culture, and soca music. And we would dance soca hours and hours every day. I still do it a lot. It's what got me into dancing. I also don't talk about dancing that much, but I dance a lot. I have a big mirror in my home for dancing. It's really important, and the foundation of that love for dancing is Trinidadian soca music and carnival music. So when I first went to Trinidad, I was so excited. It was actually my 50th country, so it was also a big kind of moment for me. And I stayed with my friend's mom, and we went with a friend's sister out to the club, and we danced and we ate doubles and bacon shark and chapati and blood pudding and all of these amazing Trini foods, and it was exactly what I wanted. I mean, Trinidad is a fascinating place. It's incredibly close to South America, incredibly close to Venezuela, so it has a little bit of the Latin vibes. It has a big Indian population that has lived in Trinidad for 150, 200 years, and so there's a lot of that kind of culture put in there as well. Of course, the soca music and just the general Caribbean vibes. It also has a lot of oil, so it has a lot of business. There's also quite a bit of crime though, and so all of these things combine to make a really interesting and fascinating country to explore as a tourist, but also intellectually if you're interested in economic development and identity. I went back to Trinidad. I went in the early morning. I got the car and I drove all around. In the afternoon, I stopped and met up with my auntie, or my friend's mom, and we went out again for some Trini food. They would always joke about the dancing with me. They would test my wine, make sure I could still do it. Her family really welcomed me in. Then I drove further north to some of the more beautiful parts outside of the city, and just enjoyed. I mean, Trinidad is a really special place to me. I would love to have a reason to live there for a longer amount of time. I love the whole Caribbean, but Trinidad has this special energy and this special vibe, and also an interesting combination of all these different cultures that I think it is really great. Now, the second country that I think is the best in the Americas is in South America, and that is Bolivia. I went to Bolivia in January 2011, and I stayed for about 10 days or a week with one of my friends who I went to boarding school with. And I was mostly in Santa Cruz de la Sierra. And what's interesting about where I stayed in my visit is that it's very far away from what most people do when they go to Bolivia. Most people go to the Potosi Salt Flats, or they go to La Paz, and they do these backpacking things. Instead, I was with my friend, just living in her house with her friends and with her father and everything. And the purpose of the visit was really just to see my friend who I hadn't seen in a while, and to see a different like place that I hadn't been. This was like pretty early on in my like traveling. And I was really excited to go because Bolivia, I feel like, is quite a misunderstood country, or a little known country. And yet I think that it really encapsulates South America, or at least a part of South America that you get in other places, but not in the same way. So Bolivia is one of the most indigenous countries in South America. It, along with like Ecuador. I am walking through Quito on my way to the old colonial district, hoping to see some stuff, maybe some new things that I didn't see when I was here last year. I am on top of the roof of my hotel here in Quito, 19th floor. An amazing view. In Peru, it's very Andean, very high. It has very high elevation, and it has like a really deep kind of like cultural connection to that history. And the family that I was with, for example, the father spoke Quechua, one of the indigenous languages. You know, we like stayed up at night, like chewing on the coca leaves, and just like he would tell me all of these stories about the history of Bolivia and what had happened to the country. And that was such an amazing experience in a new place. I was so young, I was 20 years old, and just to be able to be there and to learn from this man and to have fun with my friend. And we went on like a weekend trip into the jungle with her friends, into like this small little house that one of them had there, and just like had like a party in the middle of Bolivia, 20 years old. I mean, it was just such a great experience. But what I also love about my friends, and this is why I've chosen them to be friends, is that we never just like go crazy and enjoy ourselves. We do that, but we also have really deep like intellectual conversations where they tell me the history, they tell me why they love their homes, and that is so meaningful to me and is really the way that I love to travel. I have been dying to go back to Bolivia because I've lived in Abu Dhabi basically since then. I moved here, only like half a year later, and haven't really left. I don't get to South America as much as I would like, and I think Bolivia deserves so much time. And Potosi salt flats are really high on my list. Those incredible pictures where it's like reflected. I've always wanted to do that, and I know it's like super touristy, but it's incredible. I want to go back and see my friend. I want to like see her father, and I want to experience that kind of view into a place that I was able to get 10 years ago. So because of all that Bolivia has to offer, not only the incredible sites that everybody knows about and that incredible history, but the kind people, I'm putting it on my list of one of the best countries in the Americas. And my third country on the list of the best countries in the Americas, I've talked about it before, I've been to it 3 or more times, and that is Brazil. Now, I have never meant to go to Brazil, which I think is kind of funny. Each time that I've been has kind of been on accident. So the first time I was in a scholarship program in my university, and we did a trip to Brazil. They picked the place, so we just got told a couple months before, like, you're going to Brazil, which was awesome. And we went to Salvador Bahia, which is the like northeastern part of Brazil, the more carnival part, the part that's closest to Africa and has most of the like African cultural aspects in Brazil. So that was amazing to go and explore with this big group of friends. We did some like volunteering, kind of volunteerism, which is another story, but it was really an exciting time and a great first view into Brazil. The second time I went, I was staying with my family in Argentina. A lot of my Italian family lives in Buenos Aires. And I had another friend, my best friend was in Rio, and he called me up and he said, like, come over, let's like enjoy together. And so I flew to Brazil, and we had about like a week there in Rio de Janeiro. We like killed it in the clubs. We like had so much fun. We went up to Christ the Redeemer. We like swam at Copacabana. I mean, it was a fantastic time, and we just like really lived up the full like Rio de Janeiro experience, being young and enjoying. Third plus and why I say plus, I'll explain in a second, that I went to Brazil was I was working in Venezuela doing one of my Trail of Seeds, my NGO's projects. And we picked a location in Venezuela based on one of our, someone who went to our boarding school where they had grown up. We picked the village, and the village name is Santa Elena de Huayran, and the indigenous village in Venezuela that's next to Santa Elena is called Manacru. And so we were working with the indigenous community there. And in this region, the biggest kind of indigenous population really, I guess, is the Wapixana. And they had a village over the border in Brazil. And so they asked if we could do the same exercises and the same studies there. So me and another teammate went to the small village right across the border into Brazil, and we worked with these two indigenous tribes, and we did the identity introspection workshops that I used to do with Trail of Seeds there. And we would go back and forth a lot. So we went once for the workshops, we went again to give the grants that we gave, we went back just to check in on them. So we were going across in and out of the border a lot. So each time it just happened that I was like near Brazil or like told to go, but each time I absolutely loved it. I mean, I have so many great memories, and actually now that I think about it, I haven't been since 2012, so it's been almost 8 years. So I need to get back to Brazil. I would love to go see so much more of it. One of my favorite authors is Clarissa Lispector, who's Brazilian, so I've read almost all of her stories and all of her novels, and I want to go see some of the places that she talks about. Obviously, I've not been to Sao Paulo yet, so that'd be amazing. I'd want to go deeper into the Amazon, even though I've been up north in the Roraima area. And so I would love to go to Brazil. Every time I've been, it's been amazing. And I'd love to do a proper planning of a trip and do exactly what I want to do. I also want to mention two honorary mentions, because there are some places that whenever I'm thinking of my favorite spots, I always include them. And that's probably because of my personal connection. And the first is Argentina. So most of my Italian family actually lives in Argentina. So I have visited a few times to see family. We have this big party every New Year, so I've gone for that. I went once for work. I love Buenos Aires because I'm there with all of my family, and that's just really exciting. And then I have a really good friend who lives in the west side of Argentina, in Mendoza, where the Andes are. And that's just one of the most beautiful places in the world. I also went once for work to look at some olive orchards and wineries there. And then I haven't even been to Patagonia, so the very south of Argentina. So there's so much in that country, a lot of my personal connection. So Argentina is always going to be one of my favorite places in the Americas. And last but not least is the country of my birth, my home, the US. I think there's no place better for a long road trip than the States. There are so many different types of cultures. I've actually been watching a lot of documentaries during this COVID isolation period about different parts of the States, or just different subcultures within the States, and it just has shown me how disconnected from the reality of America I really have become, and just connecting to what American culture is and how diverse and dynamic that is. And just geographically speaking, or in terms of just land to see, I mean, the West is incredible. The Southwest, New Mexico, Colorado, up north, Montana, the Dakotas, it is amazing. You have these insane cities that are so enjoyable, like New Orleans, Miami, New York, of course. So there's so much to see in America, as well as all of my family, my sisters and their children and my parents. So I, of course, love America and all of the Americas. And so I'm happy to share with you today what my favorite places are. I hope that some of them are a little bit new to you, or the stories are slightly new. I don't think I've shared most of these before. So please comment down below telling me what your favorite places are in the Americas. Like the video, subscribe, tell your friends, do all of that. And I hope that everybody will be safe and travel safe.